Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we bring you the 5 news items that happened today that you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. The local share market dropped to its lowest point in 3 months this morning, falling below 6,940 points. The S&P ASX 200 came off its lows during the day. Eventually it finished down 1% at 7,051 points. There's plenty going on. The price of gold has fallen further. As a result, Newcrest Mining and Northern Star both closed 4% lower. Chalice Mining closed down 6.3%, while Ramelius Resources was off more than 4%. Iron ore prices have also fallen back below $120 a tonne. That hit the big miners, with BHP down 2.6%, Rio Tinto tumbling 3.6%, and Fortescue falling 2.7%. Brent crude was also lower after the European Union softened some of its proposed sanctions on Russian crude. That hit Woodside, which fell 2.6%, and Santos, which ended down 1.7%. The banks were lower, so too the retailers and the telcos. Some of the tech stocks, though, rebounded, led by Xero, WiseTech Global and REA. Listed insurance aggregator AUB was the biggest laggard, down 13%. It completed a $350 million equity raising to help fund its $880 million acquisition of London-based broker Tices. Biotech PolyNovo was the best on the day, up 14.5%. Story number 2, wholesale gas prices are rising fast, and that's bad news for households. Eventually, higher wholesale prices will feed through to more expensive electricity for all of us, and the current spike has come ahead of winter when demand increases. Wholesale gas prices have at least tripled in recent weeks to $30 a gigajoule in Melbourne, while in Sydney prices are above $22 a gigajoule. The spike reflects outages at some coal-fired power stations across the national electricity market, and also because international prices for LNG are high thanks to the war in Ukraine. While there's no doubt Australia needs to phase out fossil fuels, the price hike is just a reminder of what will happen if that occurs too quickly. Story number 3, it's always worth following the money, and no one has more money than Australian Super, the country's largest pension fund. It's about to quadruple its exposure to private equity investments to around $50 billion worldwide. That'll come into play in about 5 years' time. Aussie Super manages around $260 billion, and when you have that much money, you have to work pretty hard to find somewhere to put it, and private equity seems to be the flavour of the month. Story number 4. Western Australia today reported its worst ever day for COVID cases, 12,390. It's a real case of 2 steps forward, 1 step back when it comes to COVID news at the moment. Yesterday we were welcoming lower cases and fewer deaths across the country, but today we're lamenting a record day in Western Australia, which of course reflects the easing of restrictions. There was also a sharp spike in cases in Victoria to 12,722, the highest daily case number in that state in 3 months. New South Wales reported 10,300 cases today. There were 6,700 infections in Queensland, 3,700 in South Australia, and around 1,000 in both Tasmania and the ACT. And story number 5, Wall Street closed sharply lower again this morning, with a broad-based S&P 500 down more than 3% and the tech-heavy Nasdaq off 4.3%. There were some big falls among some of the larger companies. Electric vehicle manufacturer Tesla tumbled more than 9%, Amazon was off 5%, and Apple dropped 3%. Cryptocurrencies also fell, with Bitcoin down 9%. Adding to the pessimism was a US Federal Reserve warning of deteriorating liquidity conditions across key financial markets, amid rising risks from the war in Ukraine, higher inflation, and higher interest rates. It said there was a higher than normal risk that trading conditions will suddenly deteriorate. No one likes to hear that. Other markets closer to home also fell today. Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell nearly 3%. China's Shanghai Index dropped 1.5%. South Korea was down 2%. In fact, the FTSE All-World Index dropped 3% over the past 24 hours, hitting its lowest level in more than a year. That's it for the afternoon report for Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning for the Wednesday edition of Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.